Good morning. Today is the 11th of July. We are in Vermont. We are in the middle of nowhere doing a second introduction because the first one got wiped out after my camera filled up, so I had to format, and we're doing this all over again. So I'm being besieged by deer flies by the dozen. It's another one of those days. I had to flick one off with my thumb on the camera, get him out of there. So if you see me batting around, that's pretty much why. And there's a couple of smaller meadows
And
visited
we're in the bow tie area today.
Well, a couple of years,
over,
honestly, I don't think.
So
in that way. Today, we're going to start out going in this
deadfall
direction
here.
and continue in that direction and see what we see. Again, we had to start over because the camera apparently was all full up as far as the SD card goes. I think I somehow locked it, so I usually copy and don't cut things off. But yeah, slapping sounds is me killing deer flies. And to PETA members that like deer flies, I'll be blunt. Yeah, fuck you. Anyway, ever notice how things are more clumsy when you're like hot and muggy and irritable and bugged by bugs? So we're going to counteract that by showing you a lovely bit of scenery. And we're going to make our way this way. So far today we have gotten, it's amazing how the flies will always find that one half inch by inch spot you missed and just go to town on it. What we were talking about before this all started to unravel because of a full SD card was apparently, for those of you who know Mark DeWorth, he is a person long time associated with the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, one of the basically the mainstay for East Coast Bigfooting. Apparently has started, I don't know if he started, I say that because it's the first I've been aware of it, if that's the case. But he has started the New York Bigfoot Conference in Johnstown, New York, which is up near Sarasota Springs, and I guess he's trying to fill the gap that Nezra left a couple years back. Mark is at least partially affiliated with the Squatchachusetts group, which I don't know if he is straight up BFRO or not, but if he's affiliated with them, that would suggest that he is. But I started getting notifications on Facebook for his new, I'm going to assume, new conference. A lot of the people that are mainstay speakers, Jeff Meldrum, Cliff Barrickman, Adam Davies, and there was another one, I think. There could be just those three so far I've seen, but I want to say there was a fourth one who is on par with their notoriety in Bigfooting circles. But Mark, having done the Ohio one for a while, obviously has the connections with the bigger names of, I'll call them conference speakers for the sake of the point I'm making. And conference going is not really my forte, but I think they said it was going to be October 4th. So if you're of a mind to do that kind of thing, apparently there's a new one in town. Not to be confused with the Whitehall Bigfoot Calling Contest and Bigfoot Festival, which is in Whitehall and is a separate venue. Don't really know who puts that one on, but they are a separate venue from Mr. DeWorth's. And you notice I'm kind of approaching this conference from a neutral standpoint, mainly because I've heard things about Mark DeWorth, good, bad, and indifferent, and in the spirit of neutrality, I don't know the guy from a hole in the wall. I've never actually interacted with him on a personal basis, so it's not really for me to say he's a nice guy, he's a complete creep, or anything in between, because honestly, again, I've never met the guy. So he is a there's the first meta. He is a conference guy though, and he's got a new one. So if you haven't talked to Jeff Meldrum or Cliff Barrickman in a while, and I'm not bad mouthing these people because I've actually met Cliff Barrickman, who is every bit the nice guy people say he is. He is a genuinely nice guy, and trying to remember I still think there's a fourth person. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. I don't want to do that, but I've talked to Adam Davies, ironically right after his alleged portal jumping with Matthew Johnson, who I'm not going to call a doctor because the guy is not one. The guy is ravingly insane. Adam Davies is not ravingly insane, but he actually had the guts to go and meet the challenge of Matthew Johnson. He does maintain something happened there, though. So I'll leave that to you, the viewer, to decide if you think that's true or not. I keep hearing a beeping sound, which... trying to think what kind of electronics would have an active need to beep. And honestly, all that's active right now would be either my phone or the camera, and neither one does that really. So I'm not sure. Unless you got some creepy ass government shit going on, and I am under observation by somebody else in the middle of nowhere. That's not creepy at all. But so I kind of at a crossroads here. On the one hand, these damn grabber bushes still suck, but they're interfering with the deer flies, which if I approach this meadow out here they're going to immediately be back on me and such. So we'll see how we decide to do this. Yeah, I normally do the bow tie, but today I felt like doing something a little different. So we're in this instead. There's a little songbird. What's the other meadow is over here somewhere. If there's a way to get over there without getting soaked. And if not, let's kind of like look around the perimeter of the meadow, but there's maybe some workable terrain to get over there, because I think the second meadow's through there and a little bit smaller than this one, which is a weird mix of this spongy stuff and cat o' nine tails and shit. The reason why I didn't go to the meadow I have to cross to get into the bow tie area also, kind of, I'm just going to walk around the perimeter of this. With the rain they've had up here, I don't know how mushy that is. And that can be, I've had times when I've had to turn around because it gets kind of dicey walking through the stuff like this. When it gets thoroughly waterlogged, it becomes a little bit more ambiguous to how much stability on the ground you have. I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on. So, I mean, the big thing actually, and here's an interesting little factoid. Hello, little forest spider. These things, although they have zero nutritional value, are edible. If you ever found yourselves in a survival situation and needed empty calories to not die. They probably don't taste very good. I've never had them, and I'm not going to eat them for your entertainment. That's Bear Grylls' job, even though he's a fraud. Sorry, but he is. And we're going to work our way over there to see. Try to remember if I actually made it to the other meadow. I know there's two in here. They're kind of back to back. I don't know if I actually wandered through all this before, but just kind of felt like doing something a little different today. And haven't been into this. It's right there. Okay. We can do this. Just got to walk through the muck to get to the solid stuff again. That's usually how that works. If you walk quickly enough, you don't sink too deep. Not that I've ever done this before. Okay, trying to think what else there was in Bigfoot land. It's been quiet, so it's kind of interesting that there's a new conference. I guess I'm kind of surprised that it's actually been as long as it has, where the East Coast hasn't really filled up with any. You had, I mean, I guess Creature Weekend is still going on. Once upon a time, a Virginian, I'm not going to mention his name because we're not on the best of terms, and I'm not going to give him fodder, but no, we don't like each other much, but that doesn't look swampy at all. Stagnant little mosquito producer that you are. For a while, he had done that after, rumor has it, in big, bold quotes, I thought he was just going to inherit the Ohio Bigfoot Conference after Don Keating gave it up for whatever reason, and as we delve into Bigfoot Conference lore. And needless to say, it didn't turn out as Billy had expected. All right, I guess I did name him. Oh, well. And he went on to do his own, which, you know, if you can't beat them, fashion your own. Well, if you can't join them and you can't beat them, fashion your own and let it go from there. I personally thought he should have done one in his home state of Virginia, but Ohio apparently is where the money is, in not so many words. But again, conferences have never really been my thing. I prefer to do what you see me doing now. And on the way back, I got to do a little bit of an eDNA situation. Good God, can this forest try to trip me any more than it does? Jesus Christ. Anyway. Moose tracks. If I can get between these two pines, I can pop out in here and have a look-see at the current nature of this meadow. These looking for an area that's not all muck at the edge, though, and I'm not finding it. So I'm not going to go too far in here because actually, you're not going to get that lost, because if you go far enough in there, you'll hit the bow tie. It's actually on the other side. This is kind of like the hinterlands in between the far side of the larger beaver pond and corresponding wetland in this. It's just usually easier to stick to the perimeter and not go through, because this stuff, as you can tell, gets pretty thick pretty quickly, and as a result isn't the funnest little navigation. How mucky is this shit? Because I want to step out into this, but I don't want to sink into my knees. Okay, so meadow number 2. There's meadow over there. I would go exploring, but I've been over there. That is the gateway to the also not visited in some time, 3-layer beaver pond. And in my little nursery rhyme forest logic, the 3-layer beaver pond and the pond beyond And believe it or not, there's actually a pond beyond that. Cascading beaver ponds in this area. That is the bow tie area. But today, there are fucking moose tracks all throughout this area, though. But I'm just kind of curious. Haven't been in this area for a while, so I'm going to work my way over there, and then there's not any telltale thing. I know I would go into that, but I actually know it's already there. And it's actually kind of dicey. I actually have messed up my knee in there before. Because you have stuff like this, and then you'll have a sudden drop off. It's not too hard to hyperextend something and then cause injury. But we kind of gauge the thickness of the woods, because I mean, I wouldn't mind. Okay, so if you got a dragonfly in your head, could you eat some of these damn flies, please? How dense this is, to see if you can actually overland into the other side. But you have to go up over a fairly steep rise in here, and it's thick in there. I don't want to get turned around, because you're either hiking all the way out to the reservoir, or you're going to do the more likely thing given human nature, and you're going to fuck around and just go around in circles till you finally recognize something and realize how stupid you were for doing that, and then live and learn. But I also just feel like changing it up today, so I'm going to get over to here and then decide where it'll take me. I mean, I wonder if I can go around that and see what's over there without this getting all swampy. But let's at least have a look at the rise and figure how thick it is before making any executive navigational decisions. Because normally in the last few years, I feel like I've been kind of a creature of habit. And just done the perimeter. And I mean, there are other ways around here, and it's... So right now I can tell you the outermost part of the bow tie area is over there. This is probably the junction area in between the second and third piece. It's actually a 3-piece meadow system. There's a whole lot of dookie with a freaking nasty little freaking salamander or two eating that shit, literally. And is there a way over to the dry land over there that isn't all swampy? No, there isn't. Okay. So we're just going to go back out that way. I could have gone that way the whole time. That's usually how that works. All right, so we're going to do something mildly risky, because you can see that we can go back through here, work our way back around that way. But we're kind of doing a, I guess, navigational experiment to see if overlanding through this is at least hypothetically possible. As long as I have line of sight where I'm not going to get turned around. That's the biggest piece of this. Every time you think you got here, hunters got here first. But, all right, let's see. Don't poke me in the eye, please. Oh my God, these flies are a nuisance. Okay. Kind of just want to get up that far and see if there's a way through or not. And if there isn't, that's where we're going to stop. But it's nice to know. Got some red trees and some red tree markers, which, I don't know, I'm guessing hunters. Because you are pretty far out in the middle of nowhere out here. I'm just curious if that pops through to the other side, and I do want to know. So, if I can get to that little thing there, that'll probably answer my question. And to any who say, why are you so brave being in here if you think this is brave? That's why. It's not like I don't go in here armed. Let's see. Here's where I'm beginning to fuck up. I say a little further, and now it's going to be that mossy burl thing over there. Because I think that opens up, and then I'm going to look back this way and see if I can see the, there's like a mucky system again. I hate you damn things. Okay, it's opening up because it's a stream bed. And first of all, you can still kind of see over there. But it's getting thick and kind of annoying getting through this. I think this is where, if I can stand here for 1 second, I'm gonna, that doesn't sound encouraging. Yeah, I think the meadow flows into that. I'm not going to advance any further in. I'm just going to parallel and see if it pokes through or not. And I know if you go in that direction enough, it's going to. But I'm not going, I'm already past the burl. Obviously, I'm talking out of my derriere, but let's see. It doesn't pop right out, so we're going to stop here and take a segment break to assess my next move and path back that way, the least amount of resistance. We'll be back in a bit. Okay, we're back. We've covered a little ground. So the verdict basically is that, yeah, you probably can actually overland into there, but that's some dense shit, and you definitely would be doing it the hard way. So the rut-inducing going around the edge way is probably preferable, but it's not the only option, and that was kind of the goal today, the main goal. Hello, strange dragonfly, whose species I forget. Those guys. And fuck you, fly, for biting me. Where did I jump? Right here? If I can get on, see where my feet are, I can actually probably just touch these rocks and hop on over without, just like that, and then get back into the trees where there's a little more shade. Since I've been out here and the sun has burned through and I feel a fly biting on my shoulder, they're very good at finding that meaty part of your shoulder. You can't really reach that easily. They really should just be exterminated for that. Since the sun has come out, my God, there's a lot of you around. Get off me. I gotta actually take a break and reapply some DEET. Give these little fuckers some deterrence. I've obviously sweated it all off. I'll be back in a bit. I had to reapply DEET. The little biting bugs were becoming all too aware of the fact that I had sweat through the first layer of DEET. And we're starting to become a wee bit aggressive. So I had to throw some liquid discouragement upon their little feast, lest I be one big freaking itchy bump for tomorrow, which I'd rather not. Okay, we're going to probably do another segment break because I need to get back up there. And I'm not going to do that holding a camera, obviously, because that's just kind of nutty and all that. I got to do some minor scrambling up a hill here once I find the spot that I got to, and then I'll just grab a few trees and pull myself up. But then the terrain kind of gets over itself a little bit, but this is about where we came in, so we're gonna bop up there. So again, we're gonna take a segment break so I can get up there, then we'll resume. We'll be back again, and we're back, stumbling through more undergrowth, back on the ridge line, and still under siege from the flies, my entourage for the day apparently. And we're about ready to move to new areas. I would go into the other area, Bowtie proper, but to be blunt, it is a wee bit of a workout, and honestly, it's hot as hell, and I'm already, I think, good for the day. And after I cover up my whole shoulder area with DEET, again, these little bastards find that one little tiny spot you missed and dig in. Okay, so while we're here, we're remiss if we don't take a picture of this, because somebody actually built steps into that. That's kind of messed up. Hold on, I gotta take a break. I didn't say do that. Don't be surprised if the lens has a freaking deer fly on it there. I think they're frustrated again because the DEET is not to their liking. This is going to be tentatively where we wrap this one up. A lot of moose sign. Nothing really to point me towards number 3 or any other more upright forest dwellers in the neighborhood today. Sometimes they're just not around. So next week, factoring in that I do have a new job, so the schedule may be evolving. We will try to figure out where we're going to be. I just didn't want to get too deep into the summer before hitting some of the bigger areas like Bowtie. And we did a little bit different today because I wanted to check out the... If you walk out onto that big pond, I'm going to call that the right-hand portion of the greater Bowtie area. Kind of like behind where the actual Bowtie expanse of wetland is. It's like a couple of smaller meadows and the woodlands behind there, because the theory is it's a good location for if you are somebody of the hairy forest dweller and you want to watch people that are camping or hunting or fishing, you can kind of shuttle between those 3, 4, 5 wetlands in there, provided you don't slip and kill yourself, and have a good night's entertainment from the Bigfoot perspective. And but they don't seem to be about today, so, which is interesting because there's nobody at there's like 2 kind of like more off the beaten path camps or fire pits in here. When I got here, at least when I walked in, nobody was home. So on that note, we're going to stop rambling. There's a new conference in New York if you want to check that out. I have no affiliation with it. It's just something to mention because it's been kind of a dry spell of new information. So again, Mark DeWorth seems to be branching out into New York out of Ohio. So if you're in the conferences, they got Meldrum, they got Adam Davies, and they got Cliff Barrickman. So, I mean, you got some big names there to talk to or listen to them talk. I mean, whichever ends up being the occurrence. I've talked to Cliff Barrickman. He's a nice guy. So I have nothing bad. If their lineup isn't horrible. I've talked to Adam Davies. Seems a good, since he's an Englishman, he seems like a decent bloke. And Meldrum, I've spoke to by DM and Facebook. I mean, I don't always agree with everything he says, but Jeff seems a nice enough guy too. So anyway, we're going to wrap this one up here. So like, subscribe, comment, leave suggestions. You know the drill. And unless I literally have one walk out in front of me to shake my hand and solve the mystery on the way out of here, until next time, we'll catch you later. And with the same old abrupt ending, we're just going to say bye.